Right. So just waiting for Amy to send the request. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hope you're all having a great Easter break. So today we're going to talk about goals, and I have Amy joining me today to discuss this subject. I think it's a very important subject, which would be a very... Amy has just connected, so she should be here in a second. I decided to change my view a little bit and sit outside because the weather is nice. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
And you.
Hopefully you can see me.
Gorgeous background.
Yeah, I decided.
Unlike mine.
Yeah, you will hear all sort of sounds like dogs barking, birds. So just sort of ignore it or get inspired. But hopefully, yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of dogs around here, so they might be barking quite loudly. And cats. Well, obviously, they're not making any noises, but you might see some occasional walking past. But I have just introduced basically the subject that we're going to discuss. So for those who perhaps don't know, Amy is a wedding business owner, and she's aspiring interior designer. And so today we're going to speak about goals, and we have prepared questions for each other. So I think, Amy, if you want to start, you can start, and then we'll between each other.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, Stephanie, how do you plan and track your goals successfulh?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I'm going to show you actually my tools that I use. So I've got a 5-minute journal that I use to sort of set up my day, write like words of gratitude and what I'm grateful for. And I also use a productivity planner for like daily and weekly planning sort of goals and so on. So this is a really good tool. I love it. So these are sort of the two notebooks that I use in general to sort of plan ahead my days, and also the fact that I have recently hired a marketing manager, which I talk about quite often. Her name is Julia, and she helps a lot with sort of planning the strategies for Behind Canvas, which sort of sets my kind of week as well. So I have help now with my goal planning. So yeah, that's usually what I use to plan my goals.
Okay. And what drives you to achieve those goals? What motivates you?
Yeah, so that's an amazing question. So this motivates me, being able to travel and being able to be free, not dependent on any employer. I mean, it's something that, again, I talk about very often, that freedom and independence is very important for me as a person. So this is basically what motivates me to sort of keep going and continue with my goals, with my motivations, and what keeps my spirit up every day as well. I think it's very important where you are located and what sort of interiors and spaces surround you, and so on. I think you can agree with that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I've prepared a few questions for you as well.
Okay.
And the first one is, do you often find that setting goals depends on your motivation levels?
Okay, so I don't think so much setting the goals, but I think achieving them in the time scale that you give yourself. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, to achieve that goal by a certain date, and I think we almost give ourselves too much pressure to achieve that when it's only our own, sort of own deadline. It's not anybody else's deadline. So I think I still sort of definitely, set the goals, but I think achieving them is harder if you're feeling less motivated or having an off day or just feeling a bit so I'm still quite motivated at setting the goals, but it's just actually seeing them through, because you just keep moving the deadline if you're
No, I And you are
Yeah.
like a person who sets goals and sort of go for them. I mean, you make an impression of that person, at least to me. So a lot of people perhaps who know you agree with that, but I think yeah, you're definitely that sort of a person. And I agree with you that yeah, maybe setting goals is perhaps easier than sort of reaching them. I agree, but I think it also depends on yeah, how are you feeling as well, you know, because if you're feeling down, even setting goals sometimes can be a difficult task to do when you just don't feel like it. So yeah, definitely. My second question is what method are you using to set your goals? Do you write them down? Do you maybe have a visual board, or maybe brainstorm them? What sort of tools do you use to sort of yeah, put them
So
down?
my sort of background before weddings was the corporate world. So I tend to use the SMART method for sort of my business, study and career goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but it's sort of SMART. So
What,
it's
what
specific.
tell me.
Yeah. So it's I've written it down because I'll probably forget. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based. So it's quite
Ah,
good for. It's really really good for sort of if you've got real business and career goals that you want to sort of go through all those things with. So I use that for say for business, study, career, but then for sort of personal sort of health and fitness goals, I tend to just to pop into your head and you just
yeah,
jot them down. So I think it really depends on whether it is a business related goal or a personal related goal to how much depth you go into. I don't know if you
yeah,
probably should do the SMART method for every goal, but I think sometimes if you're out for a run you just think, oh, I'm just going to run for another 5 minutes, and that's a goal, but it's not something you
yeah,
need to
yeah,
assess, is it, or measure or anything. It's just
yeah,
something spur of the moment, right, I'm going to do this. And I think sometimes those spur of the moment goals are more achievable
yeah,
than sort of going down the whole, sort of analysing and overthinking and procrastinating about things which, as I think sometimes if you just right, I'm going to do this, and you do it. So
yeah. No, prioritize as well, you know, your goals,
yeah,
because there are so many perhaps that you just don't know what to focus on. And me too, for instance, I don't really write down my like health or personal goals as
no,
much, if I should really, but I mostly care about behind canvas, you know, and goals for
yeah,
behind canvas and
yeah.
do sort of to make it a more successful business. So yeah, and these tools that I use are primarily for
Mhm.
so I agree with you. I would love to be able to visualize, you know, like for instance, grab some magazine or like print some pictures out and stick them on the wall. Obviously, at the moment, I don't have a home, like a solid house thing, because I'm moving around and I'm traveling. But if I obviously when I buy a house, I'm going to have a separate room of my dreams, you know, like with all
Vision
the
room.
on the wall. Yes, sort of place, you know, where I can sketch, where I can, yeah, sort of put my dreams on a wall. So it's something that I think it's a good strategy to have, to sort of,
Yeah,
yeah, just stick them, like stick the visuals on a wall or somewhere to keep reminding yourself that this is where you want.
yeah.
So, yeah, you had a few more questions
I
for me as well.
did. Yes, I wanted to ask you, do other people influence your goals and make you reassess, change them?
Yeah. So I guess the first sort of two people that make me reassess them is my husband Edward, and also again I'm going to mention my marketing manager because she helps a lot. She's more experienced in brand building, so obviously she sort of more tips to give me. So I have to sort of follow what she's saying most of the times as well. And also you guys, my students, also help me to set the goals and reassess them as well, because obviously I'm trying to create a product which is useful for you. So I have to sort of adapt it all the time and see what works, what doesn't work. So I think the customers and sort of the audience that I have is very important, and it makes me kind of rethink a lot of things. So yeah, so that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah. And the other one I wanted to ask you was, would you ever add studying interior design as a goal alongside your successful sketching academy?
I love the question actually. When you asked, like, finally someone has actually asked me
Yeah.
this. I was waiting for this question. Um, I would say that I would love to work alongside an interior designer, for instance, like do like a shadow week or a shadow month or whatever, where you just do like an internship with an interior design studio or a firm. I would absolutely love to do that. This is definitely something that's on my sort of list. In terms of studying, I wouldn't. I don't think I would take up an interior design degree. Obviously, never say never. But I'm just not an academic person. I hate assignments. I hate exams. I hate getting past it. It's just not. I think I just had so much of it in the past, even though I haven't studied for like 10 years, obviously, but I just had enough of 3 years doing a BA. And I'm a very practical person, so I would like to sort of be in there and, like, for instance, do like a proper sort of practical work experience rather than do a degree. But as I said, never say never. You don't know what will happen in the future, but this is how I think at the moment.
Yeah.
This is sort of my opinion here, and I don't know what do you think about my opinion.
I think you would, you'd be a natural at it because obviously you've got the creative side, you've got obviously you've got the sketching side, and you've also got people skills, which I think is probably one of the biggest things you
Yeah,
need, to be an interior designer or any business owner. I think people skills is key. Without that, there's no point really, unless you're just going to
yeah,
you know
I,
sort of sit behind a computer all the time and not actually get out there. But no, I think you would, and you're still so young and loads of years ahead.
yeah, yeah. That's why I just this is just my thoughts at the moment, and how I feel. You don't know what will happen in the future, of course, but there was a time when I was sort of considering it. And yeah, I just love this question. When you sent it to me a few days ago, I was like, yes, finally. So yeah,
I think as well, some people probably assume that is your background as well
uh,
because you are so good at it. And I think it would just, almost just, be a natural progression probably, but it's obviously something like you say, probably for the future.
yeah,
10
something
year
to,
plan.
yeah, maybe my goal perhaps, or yeah, for sure. Uh, right, so maybe it's my turn now to continue, I think. How do you feel when you reach your goal? What sort of emotions?
Oh, I think you just feel relief. You just feel lighter, happier. Um, can get the bottle of wine out the fridge. And I think it just drives you to set more goals.
Yeah,
Um, Definitely. And I think there's always, nobody ever just has one goal, do they? I think we've all got so many goals that we're striving for, but there's just that priority of in your head what's most important.
yeah,
I think it is just that relief and yeah, just happiness. But I think it is quite, for me, I don't know, it's quite short lived. It's just I'm straight away, right, what can I do now?
yeah,
What do I do next? It's
yeah. That's time. That's how I
yeah,
feel.
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
just
that's
that treadmill. It's that treadmill, isn't it? Of right, what can I do now? And yeah, so I think it is. Yeah, it's just that progression to the next one, really. So, but but yeah, so
yeah. You can
yeah,
get into this funnel of constantly thinking, okay, I've done that. Now I need to do this. What else can I do? So you can
yeah,
sort of never back. So you can also, there's like a evil side of setting up goals as well, when you're just not satisfied when you're reaching them and you feel, okay, enough, I need to do more. So I sort of sometimes get into this kind of stage, and the moment I get to this, I think, okay, no, I need to, relax a little bit and just sit down and really think about what I have achieved. So for sure, definitely. And do you agree that goals are not always like set and solid? They're quite fluid, and I think it's quite an important aspect to consider that when you're setting up goals, that they can change and it's normal. What do you think about?
No, I definitely agree. And I think, my goals have changed massively in the last year. A year ago, I, I wasn't a student. I was, just running my wedding business, doing 40 weddings a year. And, my goals were very much just about that and my family. Whereas I think, with COVID, it made me reassess things and want to do something else and have that little bit of time to do something else. And
Mm,
almost that goal that was almost a bit of escapism, really,
yeah.
to have something just for me that wasn't business related or homeschooling related or any of that. And I think definitely, goals do change. My goals, April last year were very different to my goals now.
Yeah.
Some are still the same, obviously, but some have changed. And I think every few years as a person, you change as well. So I think your goals naturally evolve and change as you grow into that different person. And I think it is important to have those personal health and fitness goals, as well as the business and financial goals as
Yeah.
well, just to keep you a bit more balanced and not
Yeah.
just almost,
Yeah.
sort of, because otherwise I think, you just get caught up in that whole, I want to earn this much money and I want to, you know, have this many clients and, do this, do that. And you sometimes forget about, without, your husband and your family and everything else, that
Mm,
what would be the point, because I think, you tend to
yeah.
think, I tend to think, oh, I want my daughter to, see me achieving all these things, but sometimes they just want you, to sit with them and read a book and not,
Yeah.
not be talking about, oh, I've got this to do next week and I've got that to do. I haven't got time for this.
Yeah.
Um, so I think,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I think they do change and evolve, and I think I'm more not I haven't got it quite right, but I'm more balanced than I was. I was very, not a workaholic, but
Yeah.
very sort of, you know,
Every. Mm,
some weeks I'd probably work 60 hours and not, I don't know if I could quite do that now, but I think you would do that because
yeah.
you just get back into it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But definitely, I think that balance is important. And I think for a lot of people, the last year has probably taught us all to slow up a little bit and, reassess what's important and, just be grateful really for, for everything. So, but yeah, do you agree, Stephanie? Or
Yeah. No, everything what you're saying, I think I think there isn't a single person in on this earth at the moment who doesn't feel that, oh, my goals haven't changed since the lockdown sort of started. And I think
mm,
that's their life. And with me as well, my initial idea was to keep running live events, to get more clients running these events, and also eventually open up a studio in central London. And this was my dream. This is something that I was striving for. And then the lockdown happened, and I had to obviously turn the business into online format. And now I have an academy and I'm traveling, so it's completely different. You know goal to what I had in mind initially.
mm,
So I think, yeah, each of us definitely can feel that. And what you're saying also about, yeah, just constantly sort of doing something and running around and being like this
Mm,
squirrel nowhere at the same time. And I feel as well, a lot of times, and I have to stop and think about really what I'm trying to achieve here, because I don't like this sort of kind of machine structure, when you're just trying
mm,
to reach one after another goals, and you just don't, you're not feeling right. And
mm,
I'm constantly trying to sort of reassess how I feel. Maybe I'm doing it too much because I'm just very, and I'm sort of, I take everything very close to my heart. So sometimes I think maybe business is like it's not made for me. I have to sort of like, how do I say it? To change the way I feel and work most of the times, because maybe I'm natural at certain things, but I don't think I'm natural at, like structuring business and having this sort of set idea and just going without thinking about anything. I'm not like that. So I have to reassess a lot of my kind of emotions and the way I work in order to build a successful business and be sort of a stable person, rather than someone who's just like, yeah, everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
but
So I
I think
agree.
having your own business as well, you have to do everything, don't you? And I think
Yes. Yeah,
it's not just doing, like for me at the moment, it's not just doing weddings, it's doing the marketing, doing
exactly.
your account, doing everything else. And I think you investing in somebody to do the marketing is really smart, because you can't be good at everything, otherwise we'd all be millionaires. It's,
Yeah,
it's,
if it was that easy, well, and you probably feel it as well. I mean, my marketing manager, she helps to set up the strategy, and she helps with sort of the analytics of the ads, like when running ads on social media. But of course, she doesn't do everything like for me. She only runs the ads, but everything else I have to do myself. She gives me tips on how I can do it, but I have to find ways. I have to go around certain, setting up my newsletters, my emails, the way I sort of communicate with customers, and so on, So it's kind of like sometimes I sit there and think, oh my goodness, I just wish someone could do that for me. I don't want to do all this. I just want to sketch. I want to sit there and sketch, and that's all what I want to do. But then,
yeah,
you start, oh my goodness, if I knew it was that difficult, maybe I wouldn't even get into it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like these feelings that sometimes pop in your head, but then you think, no, of course there's a purpose
yeah.
for this,
'Cause I think
and I like.
Yeah, because I think with a business, you probably actually only do the main part of your business probably for 30%, don't you? The rest is is
Think sketch every day, 10 hours a day. No, unfortunately I don't. I wish
yeah,
I wish
yeah,
there and do.
yeah.
No, no. And of course I for instance, investing into a marketing manager, that's probably like sort of the first kind of task that I had to do, because I can't delegate all of my responsibilities and start paying people without actually earning, enough to sort of pay, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to be very wise with how you spend the money that you're earning, and just in general. So it's
Mhm,
quite tough, but when you think about how big companies operate and how they start hiring and how this whole hiring process begins, and maintaining your workers, it must be such a pain. Like, I can't imagine how it
mm,
is. So yeah. And I had another question actually to ask you as well. I think it's my
mhm,
last one.
mhm.
um, what is your current goal or goals?
Oh God, so many. So I think obviously finish my course is one goal. Um, Hopefully move on to the HND and the degree. That would be, it's probably a little bit more of a dream at the moment, the degree, but I think a dream with a plan is a goal, so we'll go with
Yes.
that.
Yeah. 100%.
um, and then I think I always want to be fitter and healthier. I think that's just
We all do.
standard.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. And longer term, I think I just want to have 2 successful businesses. I think that's
Oh,
that's
that's
my
a good stuff. Yes.
that's
Go,
my
Amy.
term. I can't ever imagine not doing weddings to some, to some degree. I think it will always be it,
Part of,
it's always be in me.
yeah,
But I think it's just probably evolving that, and also having a some sort of design business as well. I mean, this is obviously, I'm probably talking 5 years time maybe. And I'd love to do sort of more commercials, interiors. So hence why I need to do the H&D. So I would love to do bars and restaurants, little boutique shops, um, that sort of thing. So yeah, I've got lots of plans, dreams, and
it's
everything else.
great.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
but I think yeah, definitely. I think, and I think you've got goals like planning holidays and all of that as well. But obviously we're a bit restricted at the moment to sort of try
Yeah.
and plan those. So it's
Yeah. Those is sort of a nightmare at the moment, but I also wanted to point out something to everyone who's watching as well. It's quite easy to sort of sit there and think, oh, it's lockdown, I'm just gonna wait for it to end, or oh, I have kids and I'm not gonna bother doing any, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people have certain excuses for not doing things, and I think, for an example, you have a child, you're married, family, you have a job, you have a business that you have been building from zero, and saying that always be part of you. I feel like that, as well. I can't imagine how you can just, let go of something that you've been sort of like growing all these years with,
because
so
it's nine
challenging.
because it's nine
Is
years now that I've had my own business, and you
Yeah,
can't just say, "Oh right, I'm not doing that anymore. I'll do this." I
exactly. You
think
can't,
yeah,
even though it drive you mad, and you'll
like
be like,
my other baby,
yeah,
it's,
absolutely. I can't imagine how it is when people actually sell their business. When you're selling like your company to someone, you must feel kind of relieved, but also upset, because you've been sort of working so hard on building this kind of platform. I think people who sort of been building something from zero can understand what I'm talking about here. But it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of emotions that you put there. It's like, I don't know. How, would you compare it to raising your daughter, for instance? Would you say it's the same, more challenging, less challenging? I know maybe it's not comparable, but what can you say about that? Raising a child and building a business.
they're,
How how would you compare it?
they're both very, quite emotional, and quite, there's always something, sort of changing. I think it's probably easier a business than a child, to be fair. It's,
I think a lot.
certainly in the first couple of years anyway, I think. But I mean, Jen's, she's a fabulous kid. She's just so happy and sees the good in everything. And I think, if I'd had her mind at that age, I just think, God, what would I be doing now? I think they're just, she's so inspiring, and just happy all the time, and so much energy. She like wakes up, at 6:30, you know, talking, and she doesn't shut up until she goes to bed. So
Well, that's the way she is. That's thanks to you, because parents, surroundings, it's very important. A child is happy when it's a happy family, right? So I think it's because of you.
I
So it's
think,
good, well done to you,
but
that
I think,
she's like that.
yeah, but when she was, obviously probably, 0 to 3, I worked a lot, of hours in those first 3 years. So I probably did miss out on quite a bit, certainly at the weekends. So thank goodness my husband, sort of was obviously around at the weekends. And I think it's quite funny, because when she's been with him a lot, because he's from Dorset, so she talks quite a bit posher. Then when she's with me, she's a bit more northern. So I think you can tell who she spent more time with.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's yeah. But as I said, I think you're definitely an example to a lot of people out there with and I think most of your also people that you study with also have families, right? So most of them do,
Mhm.
and I think definitely
Mhm.
set a good example of how to sort of manage both things. And yeah, I think you're just really inspirational. So, and we actually have a message here as well, um, from Harmony's Interior, saying you're both so inspiring and helps to keep me motivated, and I can relate so much. So people are listening to us. So that's definitely a positive, uh, for sure. And in terms of my
Yeah.
questions, there I don't have any more questions to you, but always, or if you have any, perhaps me, we can continue, or we
So
can ask. Yeah.
I think so. I just had the one question left, which was obviously, what are your short and long term goals?
Yeah.
Both personal and business.
Yeah, well, which one should I start with? Maybe short term first. So short term are to set up kind of like an email strategy around, because at the moment I have a proper strategy for my newsletters and emails, and I need to sort out all of my sort of contacts and all of the students who have joined the academy, have done my courses before, and also build a successful sort of on social media strategy with my ads, because I started running ads as well. So it requires a lot of sort of work that I put into there as well. Thanks to Julia, she's managing the analytical part there. I'm really bad with numbers, I must say. Yeah, before I think only maybe it's been 4 months since I actually started thinking about numbers, and like how much I need to sell in order to get to. It's crazy. You think, well, you start thinking about this from day zero, right? But no, I haven't. I haven't been thinking about numbers at all. So yeah, there's certain things they have to learn, and people are all different. I'm just this creative soul that does not think about numbers, and now I. So I think with long term is definitely to get to the stage where I'm earning 10 grand a month. That would be amazing. Oh my goodness. I wish I could get to this. Sooner or later, 10 grand would be amazing. And also to travel around sort of Indonesia, like Asia, sort of Middle East. I really want to see sort of that part of the world, because so far I've been a lot around Europe, and I've been to the US, but I haven't really, well, I've been to Russia as well, but I haven't been to sort of like other parts of the world which are kind of unexplored to me, with completely different cultures, where you feel like really different, like Japan, for instance, yeah, Middle East. So I really want to sort of see the world there. So that's kind of my long-term goal. So I'm sort of traveling at the moment, but I'm still based in Europe. I'm currently in Greece, and yeah, going to Cyprus at the end of the month. But really want to get to sort of Bali, Thailand, and sort of that part of the world as well. So it's on my goals to reach list as well.
Wow, it's a long list.
Yeah, it's only longer. And even though I'm quite good at sort of setting up goals and like following them, but I do get drifted a bit sometimes because there's just too much happening, and you sort of focus on one thing and forget about the other, when maybe the other thing is more important than the one that you're focusing at the moment. So it
Yeah, I
depends.
think sometimes you go with your, it's whether you go with your heart or your head, isn't it, on which goals to do. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes you get
Yes.
the goals that are easier. Um,
Yeah. And I'm like that as well. And I think with Julie as well, she keeps telling me, you have to do this. You keep drifting and doing something else that you might. And I'm trying to avoid this part that I don't like. I'm trying to avoid the sort of things that I might not necessarily want to do, and I have to do them, but I
yeah.
just don't feel like doing them.
I think
Yeah.
you've got that, almost to-do list, and I'm very much, I like to tick 5 things off rather than do the big important one. Because
I
I'm
see. So small, one step.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
See.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Yeah, I think there's like a whole sort of strategy behind, setting up goals and reaching them. It's sort of a hard task, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
We have also a note from Dil. She's
Okay.
saying, as established business owner, what process do you go through when you need to make a tough decision, either with suppliers or collaborations? Amy, you'll be the first one to answer that.
Oh, decisions. I think I tend to sort of break it down, sort of, write everything down, brainstorm sort of what I've written down, and I'm very much I'd rather just pick up the phone and talk to somebody than do it in an email. I'm sort of
Yeah,
quite.
I prefer that as well. Yes.
I'd rather see if I think with tough decisions, I'd rather see a person's reaction when I'm going through, the solution for it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't quite answered it properly, but yeah, I think it's just breaking it down and just talking it through, so you've got that made that decision quite quickly, rather than putting in an email, the email getting read wrong, and then it's
Oh yeah.
the
Yes. I
situation
hate
is
emails. I hate.
decision
Yeah.
is 10 times worse
Yeah.
than it would. But I think it's, I think again it's down to people skills, and trying
Yeah.
to
It is.
read people in the right way, and almost getting on their good side, um,
Yeah.
rather than yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, because a lot of people like to write. And I'm not saying writing is bad, but I
No.
definitely agree with you that when you're a business owner, picking up the phone and reaching out to be it a client, a customer, or supplier, whatever, is
Mm-hmm.
much better than trying to email and waiting for an email for forever, and you never know if it gets actually read and so on. Of
Yeah,
course, you can always
and I,
follow up.
I
And
I I
yeah,
would normally follow up with an email though, just so you've got that, paper trail of
yes,
of
yes,
what you said, and so nobody's saying, well, you said this, when they've got
yeah,
no proof. I
yeah.
think
That's my phone
it's
call.
good to
This,
it's good to follow up. Yeah, otherwise it just becomes Chinese whispers, doesn't it? And
yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
but yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I think sometimes it's better just to talk it through, isn't it? Than, 'cause I think life is, there's always tough decisions to be made, and
Yes.
I think it is going. I think business wise, it's going with your head, not your heart, always. It's, whereas
Yes.
with personal,
Yeah.
the other way around. Um, Not saying
Yeah.
that's, but yeah.
No, but it's true. I think I agree with you here as well that business is more about head than the heart, unfortunately. But I think when it comes to, I think my answer here, tough decision, I realized a few months ago that I'm really, really bad at sitting there and brainstorming. Like, I'm that kind of person who just picks up, does it without thinking, actually, does it actually lead me to it, anything? Does it actually give me any result? I'm just like doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. And then when I have to sit and think, okay, Stephanie, what you have done and what actually works, and I'm sitting there, I don't want to think about this. I rather just do. And this is something that I had to sort of reconsider, and a lot of sort of decisions been made in the past month or so, much more than before, just because I'm sitting down and actually realizing what I need to do. Because I need to have a strategy, and I didn't have a strategy. I was just doing things, and that's it. So I think for me, just sitting down and realizing what actually works and what doesn't has been for me, it's been actually hard to just do it. No, it just wasn't in me, it wasn't natural to me. So, and I know a lot of people just like to sit there and plan ahead without actually doing things. I'm the other person. I'm doing things without planning, and it's been a complete chaos. So either way, it's a chaos. You know? Yeah.
But I think sometimes, you know, going with your gut like that, I think is better, and I think you tend to be more successful when you're already busy.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Definitely.
definitely.
And I think, you know, sometimes I'm so much more productive when I'm busy than when I'm, you know, not so busy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I think, and sometimes you multitask better when you're, you know, in that whirlwind of sort of work and, you know, sort of doing all 10 things sometimes is easier than thinking about one thing.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yeah, and also, you know, when you are, for instance, when you're running a business as well, and when there is a certain, you know, thing that you have to do, and you're just sitting there and you just you just don't feel like, you know, it's something that you feel natural at doing, and it yeah, it's just crazy how it works. I think the more I sort of get into this, the more I sort of realize what's behind, you know, running a business. It's actually, there's so many like things and all these wires, and you have to consider that you never thought about before, and it requires a lot of dedication to sort of try to untangle all of these wires and yeah, create something useful and solid out of it. So yeah, for sure, definitely. I think maybe if anyone has any other questions perhaps for us, we'll be happy to answer, or we can just go. I'm not sure, there's probably a gardener over here doing something. Sorry about the noise. If it's loud, just let me know and I'll get inside. But I'm not sure.
Anywho,
It's, I think it's the season now, so everyone's like collecting olives, and I'm not sure what's
okay,
happening. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So we're just going to wait maybe a few seconds to see if there's any questions. We still have about 15 minutes actually. Let
Okay.
me try to
I
get
had no
inside.
idea what the time was.
It's fine. It's 12:42. I'm just gonna get inside just because it's got a bit loud.
Of course, you're too.
Yeah. Oh, go.
Dina have a question. Dina always has asked questions.
Oh yes, yes. I don't know if she's watching at the moment, but I think if there isn't, if no one has any perhaps questions at the moment, perhaps maybe we can go through a few more questions. I had a question as well, an extra bonus question about bonus question if we have time, about just in general, do you think that, what sort of, not what you think, what sort of tip can you give to people who are sort of struggling to set up goals for various reasons? Because for some people it might be a challenge to, you know, just like think about what they're actually dreaming about. And as I said, for instance, people have excuses for things, right? I have family, I have no time, it's COVID, lockdown, I can't be bothered to do anything, I don't feel like it. What sort of advice can you give to these people?
I think everybody has, you know, a dream or something they want to do, and I think it's imagining where you want to be in 5 years' time. You know, I think if you've got, everybody's got a vision of, you know, what sort of house they want to live in, whether they want to get married, whether they want to have children, whether they have kids, whether they want to work for somebody else. And I think it's just people thinking about where they see themselves in 5 years' time, and then just starting to brainstorm ideas, you know, to sort of make that happen. And I think, you know, it's no good, you know, later in life saying, I wish I'd done that, because, you know, I think only you can make things happen. uh, you know, I think as long as you've tried things, you know, whether they're successful or not. I mean, I didn't have my own business till I was 37 or 38. You know, I was in the corporate world, never was particularly, you know, driven by work. I was more about planning my next holiday. You know, I wasn't really career orientated at all. But I think by setting up my own business, it's changed me massively. I think you just strive for more and more when you do that. And I think that's why I would never want to be employed again.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
um,
I can't wait for this moment.
I think obviously it took me probably 2 or 3 years to like being self-employed.
Yes. Yes.
Because I was 20 years of being employed, and I just didn't like, not having the so much per month coming in,
Yeah.
and all of
That's a
that side, and that security. But I think but after having Jen, you can adapt a business to you, and I think once you realise that and make it work for you, then it's definitely. I would no. I mean, obviously, if I got offered an amazing employed opportunity working for somebody, I would obviously consider it. But I think definitely, weddings and interiors, I would, much rather go down the self-employed route. So I think probably just answer one of Dill's questions. Actually, I've just seen Dill's question pop up.
oh
Or started to answer it anyway.
So what is the best advice to consider for? Yes, you actually answered that. And Amy, I think it's what you're saying is extremely important and motivational as well, because there are so many success stories out there. People are not talking about their challenges and what is actually hidden behind being self-employed. And even though it's hard and challenging, as you say, to have the stability. And I'm the same, I'm working so much, but at the moment, by working for someone else, I'm earning more by working much less than what I'm doing for behind canvas. And that makes me feel sad, of course. I'm sitting there thinking, my goodness, when is this going to kick off? And when I'm going to get my 10 grand in a month, I can't wait for this. But obviously you have to be quite patient, and you have to keep going, because you need to have a purpose, behind this, sort of being self-employed. And I've just done so many courses on business, and people talking about, you're going to earn your first million in your first year. And you're thinking, I haven't earned my first million.
It takes at least 3 years, to start to be able to take a salary without putting it back into the business almost. But all of a sudden it'll just go, and then, and obviously the more tax you're paying, obviously the better you're doing. So it's
at the moment it's earning, investing it into the business again and again and again to make it better. And it's true. And I think that's why most of the people don't want to get into it, because it's just so hard and you just have to wait for so long. But as I keep saying, having a business is more than just being free and having sort of well, first of all, you don't have a ceiling when you're running a business. You can earn any money you want. You don't have a salary that is there for you. For instance, when you're working for someone, yes, you can get a pay rise, but it's only going to be a specific pay rise when it reaches a specific sort of sum. You're not going to go more than that, right? And it's true. You can earn, I don't know, maybe you can work for 10 years, and let's say you're earning, I don't know, 30 grand. Yes, you can maybe get to 35, but I doubt that you're going to get higher than that, right? So I think when you're self-employed, you're just sort of, you don't have a ceiling. You don't have a boundary.
You get paid, per project or per, and I think that's quite exciting as well, because obviously there's lots of different, projects whether, to work on. So I think it's, it's more, it's just more motivational.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the fact also that, for instance, I think I keep saying it as well. I mean, I'm still employed and I work 1 day a week. And again, only after 2 years, well, not 2 years, one and a half or so. Yeah, I sort of started going part-time, and that's obviously because Behind Canvas is developing and so on. But when I'm because I'm a recruitment consultant, as per my sort of profession, when I make a placement, when I place, a person, because that's what recruiters do, we find jobs for people. And so when I place a person, my boss gets 98% of this placement, and I get remaining 1% or whatever it is. And I think there's, I sit there thinking, this is so unfair, because when you're a business owner, you take everything, right? Because it's like your business, and your employees just get a specific part, a little slice of this cake that you're getting. And of course, there are certain expenses that, your manager, your business owner pays for you as an employee. But since I started running behind canvas, I got really like angry with this. How the hell he's taking all of this money that I'm supposed to be earning, and it's true. You start thinking like this. You start thinking, oh my goodness, like I don't want to be an employer who takes 1%, for doing all of the job. And I think, yeah, it's you start thinking about these things, and you realize that it's you grow so much as a person as well when you're running your own business. It's a lot of discipline.
I think it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's that identity. Nice to have that identity, as well as obviously it's not responsibility, but it's nice to have that that status and identity almost. I think and I think that pushes you to do more and do well. And I think every decision you make has an impact, whereas when you work for somebody else, you could
you don't
make a suggestion and all of a sudden it's somebody else's suggestion, even though it was yours. And I think obviously it's for and against of both, but I think once you get used to being self-employed, it's definitely. But I think a lot of people are quite nervous about being self-employed.
Frightening. You don't have stability.
I think it's just the whole. For me, it was how do I do my accounts? How do I know I'm paying the right tax? That was a bit that worried me. It was those brown envelopes coming through the box, thinking, well, am I doing it all right? I do have a good accountant just to make sure it's all. I think it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
No, for sure. I think UK also has a very good sort of system for self-employment in general. Obviously, because I'm a UK resident, so I'm doing all of the taxes there as well. I think, for instance, in my country where I'm originally from Latvia, I think when you become self-employed, you have to start paying from the first penny you're earning. So the first penny that gets into your account, they take, I think, maybe 40%. I might be mistaken, but it's not a very pleasant sort of rules that they have there around sort of for entrepreneurs. And there is a reason for that, because obviously people prefer people to work for someone. People don't like all these entrepreneurs trying to build their businesses. And I think COVID as well sort of kind of helped us to realize that obviously the big companies are still doing good, but small companies unfortunately have to close because of certain things that are happening at the moment. And it's sort of sad in one way or the other, but that's just how it is, unfortunately. And I think what you said, well, Amy, about the fact that you've been in the corporate world for a very long time, and you didn't sort of think about business again. That's quite motivation, inspiration as well for people who are, might be, I'm not young anymore. I'm not 20 years anymore. I can't start a business, blah, blah, blah. You can. I mean, look at Amy. Like, she has built a successful wedding business, and she's studying a degree, and she's got goals to reach. I think it's incredible, really. I don't know many people like that, really. And I think it's very important to understand that it's your limits that you're placing on yourself. No one else is telling you can't travel because blah, blah, blah. Even with the current lockdown, yes, we're all kind of locked in, but I managed to escape. You know what I mean? It just depends on how motivated you are.
I think, Stephanie, you're so lucky to have found, something that you're really good at and passionate about at such a young age. I think, that is only going to, grow. And, by the time you're my age, you're going to be so successful. And, I think it's, so lucky to, I think if you know what you want to be in your 20s, you're very, very lucky, and you just got to go with it and don't look back. I think. But there's even if for me, I would say I was in my 30s, but I think it's never too late. I think it's
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to actually realize what you're good at and what you should be doing. It's hard, and I'm even though I love to sketch, I love to draw. But as I said, there are certain things that don't come natural to me, and certain things that have to exist when you're running a business. Certain, I don't know, character, things that I need to sort of consider about myself and how I treat sort of the whole situation in general. Because as I said, I get very emotional about things, and there is no place for emotions when you're running a business, right? You have to be very set and, stable. And I wouldn't say I'm a very stable person, I must say. I'm not. And I have to think about this as well. A lot of times I just have to sit and think that, listen, you have to, if you want this to work, you have to change. So, and sometimes you start thinking, if I have to change, is it really what I love doing? But, so even though when you find your passion, it's still hard to monetize your passion. I think it's very hard to monetize. Especially when you're passionate about something. If you just want to earn money, I think, to be honest, it's easy, because you just choose whatever and you just do whatever and you don't care. But in my case, I care. So, and I think maybe it's kind of not a good thing, to be honest. So I don't know.
I think it's it's being around positive people, isn't it, as well? I think helps, and people that are like-minded, and you don't want to be with negative people when you're striving, trying to grow a business and everything. I think it's just almost having your little group of sort of like-minded and positive people. I think certainly with the course that I'm doing, without the group of girls that I'm sort of connected with, it wouldn't be as enjoyable or as much fun as it is. I think it's
no, 100%. I mean, you girls have made my year as well. So I keep thanking you all for what you do, but it's true, because you need support. And I'm just a little bit cautious about the time, because we've got 3 minutes left, well, a bit less too. And I just wanted to go through a few notes that people have been putting here. Davina was asking about signs of feeling overworked, and how you overcome this. I feel overworked every day. I'm not the best person to ask this question. See, really, I'm really bad at this. Signs are breaking down at small things and just being overreactive.
It's just, and I think as well, if you're ready for bed at 8 o'clock at night, it's because you're trying to shut down from sort of been overworked. And I think sometimes I'm probably the worst for it, but I think sometimes you just need to walk away for 2 days and do something else if you're feeling overwhelmed with everything. But it's easier said than done, because I just tend to drive through and hope for the best.
And we just have a few more. The design studio saying, that's true, so agree with you girls, and people who support you and your ideas. Yes, for sure, it's definitely very important aspect. And just because we have a 1 hour limit on Instagram live, we just have to end here, but I think we spoke about a lot of things, as we usually do.
We've gone a bit off.
No, I think it's all connected, to be honest. And I really hope that we can do another one, Amy, because as I said, I get inspired by you as well. I'm going to say again. And I think a lot of people who you're friends with feel the same about you as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Obviously, for those who have not managed to join, I will save this stream so you can watch it. hope to see you next week. We're doing another IG live stream. Theme will be announced very soon. It's going to be around sketching. So it's going to be on Friday. So watch this space for the date, and see you everyone very soon. Thank you, Amy.